Hello, welcome to End-Door N-Gauge Model Railway. A year ago I made a video about issues I'd had with Dapol steam locomotives. This time I look at all of the N-Gauge locomotives that I've ever bought brand new to see what the odds are of having problems. My second N-Gauge loco was the first one that I bought brand new, a DC Graham Farish Class 37. I got it in September 2007 and for the life of me I can't remember what it was like out of the box, but I didn't send it back so I assume it worked. I do remember that for a while it didn't work at all. Then one day I put it on someone else's layout, it worked, and it's been a good, reliable runner ever since. So it had an issue at some point but self-healed, so I'm counting this one as one that worked. In November 2007 I ordered two locomotives at the same time, both Dapol, both DC, a GWR 1400 class and a GWR 4500 class. The 1400 was a dud upon arrival, it never moved, and I sent it straight back for replacement. The replacement has worked extremely well, so that counts as one each for locos with issues and locos that were fine. The 4500 worked well for many years, though now needs some attention because it no longer likes going forwards. I bought one second-hand loco in February 2008, and then it was 10 years until my next loco. In February 2018, a brand new Dapol GWR Hall class, DCC ready. This has run well ever since, which is a good job. I spent a long time deciding whether or not to spend the money on another locomotive, and if it hadn't worked I may well have never really got properly into the hobby. In May 2020 I ordered a Graham Farish Class 57 and a Dapol 6700 pannier tank, both DCC ready. The pannier tank has never liked insole frog points, but otherwise has run well. The 57 has always run superbly, and it's tougher than it looks. This one has fallen from my dining table onto a tiled floor, with only very minor cosmetic damage. So far, so good. From 6 brand new purchases, only one had needed to go back, so it seemed like a blip, and as far as I was aware, model trains were like anything else. You might occasionally get something faulty, but overall things would work as expected. In March 2020 I had pre-ordered a Swallow liveried HST power car pack. It arrived in July 2020. The motorised car did actually work perfectly well, so that counts as a loco without issues. There was a problem with the dummy car that meant I sent the first pack back for replacement, and as with the first pack the motorised car in the replacement worked fine, so that counts as another loco without issues. I think I'm on the third pair. I don't actually know, but if I am then it's someone else's and therefore not brand new, so wouldn't count in this tally. I plan to make a separate video about Dapol HSTs one day, where I'll talk about the issues with the dummy power cars. In November 2020 I ordered a DCC ready Dapol DB Schenker Class 66. I actually took a very long time to give this much of a run, or to try fit in the decoder. It has never run reliably. In one direction in particular it suddenly stops, then without prompting starts going again, accelerating from zero as if it had been told to stop and then start, rather than from losing power. I've tried swapping the decoder, the fault is with the loco, but I found all this out too late to feel that it was reasonable to complain, so I'm stuck with it. In April 2021 I got a DCC fitted Dapol DB Class 66 in D-branded EWS livery, and this one has worked very well. What a contrast! In May 2021, my Kato Class 800 IET pre-order arrived. These original batches were only available in DCC ready. For a while I only ran it on DC, and it always runs smoothly and reliably on DC or DCC. One of the first light decoders that I bought didn't work and had to be sent back for replacement. Then as far as I can remember, all was okay for a while, but nowadays there's something wrong with the directional lights on one of the cars. However, I think this is probably a decoder issue, so I'm going to count the IET as being a locomotive without issue, but it's borderline. It was then 10 months until the next brand new loco, a Dapol HST set in First Great Western so-called fag packet livery. This has the same dummy car issue as the Swallow liveried ones, but likewise the motorised car has been fine, so it counts as a loco without issue. In June 2022 my Graham Farish DCC sound fitted Class 08 pre-order arrived. My first loco with sound! It had terrible running issues and had to go back for manufacturer repair. It's been fine since then. In July it was shortly followed by a Dapol British Railways 9F, modified by the Model Centre to include DCC sound. To start with, it worked well, but it had to go back for repair twice. I trust that the Model Centre know what they're doing. I don't know what the cause of the first problem was, but the second breakdown was because the cardan shaft had broken, so I'm counting this as a brand new loco with issues. Also in July was a Dapol DCC Ready Class 153. It's always worked well. Summer 2022 is busy. In August I ordered a Sonic Models DCC Ready GWR 062 5600 class. This one doesn't run especially well, but not actually badly. I think it's just not as good as the models from other manufacturers, so I'm counting it as one without issues. In October 2022 was a Dapol DCC Ready LNER A1 Flying Scotsman. It was awful, so it went back for replacement. The replacement was better, but still bad, so went back for refund. That's 2 brand new locos that had issues. In the midst of that, November 2022 was a DCC Ready Dapol A4 Mallard. Part of the motion on this fell apart all by itself, which I decided to reassemble rather than send back. It's never really run all that well. It needs to be moving at reasonable pace to avoid jerking and stalling, and seems to need running in every time it's used. So this makes 3 with issues in a row, and closes 2022's new locos on a low. January 2023 saw the first of that year's new locos, with a DCC Ready Dapol Class 27. Out of the box, this one wouldn't go around one of the curves. It kept derailing. It turned out that the buffer beam hooks were too low, and the bogies were catching on them. The fix was easy, once I'd worked out what the problem was, but the loco wasn't fit to run on arrival, so it's going in the not fine category. Just a few days later in February, my pre-ordered DCC Ready Dapol British Railways 7MT Britannia arrived. This one kept seizing up whilst running in. It was the 4th Dapol steam locomotive in a row with problems, and at this point I totally lost confidence in such models, sent it back for refund, and started to wonder if it was worth continuing with the hobby. This was the 5th loco in a row with issues. In March I got a much needed boost from my pre-ordered Graham Farish DCC sound-fitted LMS 4F. This is an absolutely superb runner and model, and was a refreshing change. A few weeks later, also in March, my pre-ordered Graham Farish DCC sound-fitted Class 60 arrived. Was likewise a very good runner, and also had good pulling power. In May, the 4F's brilliance was slightly tainted when I ran another one in for a friend. That one was also brand new, but 1 or 2 of the axles on its tender were prone to stalling. It was obvious to me when watching it, but difficult to capture clearly on camera. I didn't want to fiddle and investigate because the loco wasn't mine, but I do know how to put a loco onto the rails. This is a running problem with a brand new loco. In May 2023 I decided I'd buy one of the recently released Graham Farish Class 220 Voyagers. I'd already had a Dapol Class 221 Super Voyager on pre-order for a year and a half, and I'd rather have a Super Voyager because it's longer and has outside framed bogies. But Dapol just keep adding livery options and pushing its release date back. The Graham Farish Voyager was very expensive and had multiple problems, so I returned it for a refund. I'm still waiting for the Dapol Super Voyager. I just hope they haven't noticed there's now a Grand Central livery on some Voyagers. In June I bought a DCC Ready Dapol Executive Livery Power Car Pack. As with the others I have, the dummy car has the issue, and the motorised car works fine. To finish 2023, in December my DCC sound-fitted Class 158 arrived, and I ordered a DCC Ready non-sound one. Both work excellently, finishing the year on a good note. So far in 2024 there's only been one new loco, another Dapol GWR pannier tank, this time a 5700 class and DCC fitted. This one ran badly, and because it also had a bent frame I returned it for a refund. Rails of Sheffield originally countered and said they could repair or replace it, to which I agreed if they thought it was worth trying. A couple of weeks after they got it back, they confirmed the issues I reported and gave me a refund, so I don't think there'll be a replacement on the way. So, at the time of making this video, that's 18 brand new locos that worked versus 12 that had problems that either warranted a return or needed me to fix them. I had been feeling it was more like 50-50, but it's still really not a good ratio. This won't come as a surprise to you if you buy many N-gauge locos, but if you're new to the hobby or considering it, then just be aware and temper your excitement when a new loco arrives. In my opinion, it's still generally worth buying locos you like, because we have a consumer's right to return a product that's not fit for purpose. Hatton's and so far Rails of Sheffield and the Model Centre have all covered the postage costs for my returns. Here's a bit more analysis. Graham Farish, 6 good versus 3 bad. Dapol, 10 good versus 9 bad. Dapol come out far worse than Graham Farish. I've had 19 brand new Dapol locomotives, which I think is plenty to form a picture of the company's quality control. 3 of those are pretty much from a different era of model making, but the 16 more recent ones are still a reasonable sample size and they're spread out over 5 years. I think 9 Graham Farish locos is a fairly small sample, and it's only really 8 when considering that one is from a different model making era, but just about enough to support the feeling by many that Farish tend to produce higher quality products than Dapol. As steam versus diesel, I have steam 6 good, 8 bad, diesel 12 good, 4 bad. So I've had a bad steam loco more often than a good one, whereas the diesels it's 3 to 1 odds of getting a good one. Breaking the steam ones down a little further, tender locos, 2 good, 6 bad, tank locos, 4 good, 2 bad. So as I felt when I made last year's video, it's the tender locos that are really bad, only a 1 in 3 chance of getting a good one. Broken down by years it looks like this. 2020, 4 good, 1 bad. 2021, 2 good, 0 bad. 2022, 3 good, 5 bad. 2023, 5 good, 4 bad. The models vary between whether they're new tooling, updated tooling, or just reruns using old tooling. I don't tend to know the details about most of them. These are just the years in which I bought the locos. 2022 left me without any confidence in Dapol's ability, or maybe willingness, to adequately control the quality of its steam locomotives. So in 2023 there were 1 or 2 models that I didn't buy for that reason alone. 2024 should be interesting. Soon the Revolution's Trains Class 59s should become available, one of which I've got on pre-order. It will be my first Revolution Trains locomotive. I also have some of their recently announced Class 66s on pre-order. I have no idea how they will fare for quality. I've not got particularly high hopes based on what I've seen from other people with other Revolution locos, but I literally chose them over Dapol's 59s and 66s. In fact, I actually had some of Dapol's next generation Class 66s on pre-order with Hatton's, and cancelled those when the Revolution's ones were announced. Hatton's weren't selling the Revolution Trains ones. I haven't completely abandoned Dapol though. It's still possible to get good models from them. I've got several diesels on pre-order, a next generation Class 56, my long-awaited HSTs and the Super Voyager, and I've got 2 of their next generation steam locomotives on pre-order, a GWR Mogul and the Southern West Country Class Light Pacific. There are 2 more quality things I'd like to mention that aren't worth making into separate videos. The first is Dapol's tendency to release models that have deformed bodies. My Hall class has a warped frame and bad angle on part of its motion. Both should be horizontal, but they're a long way off. One of my Class 153s in particular has a bow across its whole body, and the 2024 pannier tank had a bowed frame. About a year ago I considered buying a Class 58, but the website photos showed that its body doesn't meet the frame properly, leaving a visible gap right through to the other side. For that reason I decided against it. I think it's a credit to Rails of Sheffield that they used a photo from that angle, giving an honest view of the product. I think these defects stand out like a sore thumb. Back in 2018 when I was considering buying the Hall class, I could see this frame defect from the pictures on Hatton's website, and couldn't quite believe that such an obvious flaw would be present on all of the models. It was still present recently when another batch of the Halls was released. It was visible in the photos of all the livery options. How on earth can Dapol let this through their product development quality control? Well, I still bought one, and I haven't come across anyone else on YouTube mentioning it, so perhaps Dapol just know their market very well and know what they can get away with. Perhaps a lot of people chose not to buy one because of this. Perhaps a lot of people had already given up buying Dapol in the first place. In all honesty, I don't notice this defect most of the time when the haul is running around. In the case of the 153s, it was also visible in the website photos that I saw, but I decided it was slight enough that I could live with it. Again though, this should never have been allowed past Dapol's quality control during product development. If I can spot it, then a professional at model design and/or acceptance can't have failed to notice it. The other quality topic is rolling stock. Essentially, the vast majority of what I've bought has looked right and rolled well, the big exceptions being my mini Dapol JHA wagons and Dapol HST dummy power cars. I've covered the JHAs in other videos. As I've mentioned, I plan to make a video about Dapol's HSTs. I've actually been intending it for a while, but I'd like my pre-ordered HSTs to arrive first so I can see if they have the issue too, though their release just keeps being put back. Whilst running container trains for this video, I noticed that my FEA-B spine wagons are bowing. That could have happened when fitting tie bars or hunt couplings, and pushing the containers into the slots that hold them in place, so I looked at a pair that I hadn't unboxed yet, and they're just as bowed. Intermodal containers are loads rather than rolling stock, but it's worth noting that a lot of the Dapol ones that I bought arrived with doors already broken off. For several of them they were rattling around in the boxes before I opened them. At least one was missing one of the little feet that anchors it to wagons. All that said, in N-Gage the biggest issue with rolling stock for me is reliability of the couplings. I think this is a general problem with the scale standard couplings, rather than a particular manufacturer's quality control, and there are options to work around it. So, how to summarise here? Yes, the overall quality control for locos is dire. My experience has seen roughly a 1 in 3 chance of getting a bad brand new locomotive, and I wish the manufacturers would do better. But with some perseverance you can get a collection of excellently detailed models that bring a lot of enjoyment. For the footage of this video I've had more of my locos out of their boxes at one time than ever before, and I've run them with lots of my rolling stock in order to get variety in the running shots. I've thoroughly enjoyed it all, and for now my children have even refound their interest in the trains and enjoyed being able to choose formations and control them. So for all the frustrations there's still plenty of enjoyment to be had, and I've no intention of giving up on the hobby. That's all for now. Bye bye.